A warm welcome to my design team project for LDRS Creative. You're going to have an opportunity to put a comment down to win this die, and it's called the Petite Build-A-Card Apple a Day die. It's 14 wonderful pieces of die cuts. I'm going to use the, right here I'm showing you the Yupo paper, and that's the 5x7 alcohol ink Yupo paper, and then the high gloss finish paper by Adirondack, and that's the standard A2 underneath that. I wanted to see the difference using the alcohol inks on both styles, the Yupo and the high gloss. So we'll share that together, and I am making this card for my grandson Hunter to bring to his teacher. And what better card than to use an apple a day die, right? And all of my new alcohol inks, all the new colors, they're just fabulous. And I think I took out about 8 different shades of red, pinks, and one of them, just a little bit of the burgundy mixed in. I took this spritz bottle and I poured some of the blending solution just to see what it's like to get a nice spritz of the blending solution opposed to just squirting it on in kind of like glob-like, you know, entries onto the page, so to speak. It's so good to be putting a project out. Wow, this has been a busy, hot summer. Hasn't it been hot in Ontario, especially, like record-breaking heat? And anywho, this is a wonderful die set, and I'm going to show you some great projects with LDRS Creative. The new dies and stamps that have just come out, we'll get to that. But for today, I am over the moon excited to make this teacher card. I think the school season for Ontario here, we start the day after Labor Day, which is this Tuesday. So I had a blast, more than a blast, making an apple shaker card for Hunter to bring to his teacher. So here we go. You can see the difference right away. Although both are shiny, the Yupo paper has a real bright shine to it. Nice bright white. Oh, yeah, excuse me. Oh, at least it's not glue, right? I can get that off of his little paws. But you can see the difference using the same colors on each paper. You know, the way that it formulates and distributes itself. Now, I did do the smart thing with adding some rubber gloves here. Oh yeah, you're going to want to do this or you will be washing red off your hands forever. Yes. So I can't believe I even thought to do that. And look at the difference with just squirting out the blending solution opposed to misting it out. And here I grabbed my applicator. I thought, okay, I'm trying to decide here. Okay, I want to keep everything clean. What's best? And then I thought, you know what? It's probably nice just to use the glass mat and then apply some to the applicator, and all experiential learning here. It's just applying it. You have in the back of your mind that you want to make sure it looks like an apple. You could do this in the greens, you could do it in the dark, deep reds toward more burgundy, or like I did here, the bright apple color. And I will mention all of the names of the alcohol inks on my blog later today. I'll get them up for you. But I wanted to imagine, this is a big die, you know, cutout, and you get to have an opportunity to leave a comment to win it, which is fantabulous. And this is, let me just see here, it is large. Let me just say that the apple itself is almost 5 1/4 inches, and it has 2 apples, and one of them cuts so that you can flip it open. It actually has so you can make a card, you know, flipping the apple and have another apple underneath. And you'll see that once I get going. Now, what you saw me do there is take my finger and apply some of direct blending solution on there and just squish it across. But when I spritzed it here and the pink in the background, oh yeah, this apple was coming alive. I love Yupo paper and alcohol inks. The combination of this really gets you excited when you start applying color to the Yupo paper. So I'm just going to grab a little piece of tape to run it through my die cutting machine, and you'll see there to the, well, it will be to the left. No, it'll be to your right if you're looking at this. And this is the portion that if you want it to flip, you would use this in a whole different manner. But I wanted to cut this off because I'm doing a shaker. So I need to do both sides coloring. In the sense when I turn the card, it's going to be book style. You're going to see that beautiful color on the back as well. So here we go, just cutting that flip part out and creating this gorgeous, realistic style apple die. It really does look like a nice, delicious apple. Yummy. Beautiful thing about using Yupo paper and alcohol inks is everything is at your fingertips. You can add more alcohol ink and maneuver the color all over the Yupo paper. Here I wanted to have a little bit darker, I wanted to lift that dark spot, excuse me, and I just grabbed the applicator lid and did some experimenting. And another thing which is really exciting, what I want to show you here, I did a matching card. I could not put all of this into one video, but I think you're going to love, love, love the card envelope as much as the card. I had so much fun here. Here's another piece of Yupo. I needed to have a front and a back, right? So I thought, you know what? I am going to really do a lot of cards here, because when you put the blending solution on here, my friends, just take another piece of Yupo and put it directly on top of this, and you will get a whole sheet that is different, really, because it moves all in different directions. You'll see that when I lift it. Look at that. You could have went crazy on this. I mean, just added some here. I did it again and added the papers, and I was having a heyday of seeing what turns out with different colors of alcohol ink and moving it, and always in the back of my mind thinking, okay, this has to look like an apple when I get finished. Yes, so here we go. All kinds of exciting things we're going to have. And this is in fast motion, but as I was creating it, I just took my time. You can see that I have, you'll see how I get all the greens for the leaves, because in this die set you have flowers, you have this adorable little worm. Oh, he is adorable. And we end up doing the apple, like we'll cut the die out on the front and the back of the paper so that we can attach them, and it will look like all one apple. You'll see what I mean in just a minute. And then cutting out all of the different, here's the spritz. Watch this. Isn't it different when you add spritz? Oh, I grabbed some paper. I wanted to use that in case I wanted some red sentiments right there, and kind of like a flat. But let's get back to my messing up my English there. When you spritz that blending solution, you get an entire different look. Look at that. Oh, and I thought to myself, how exciting this would be if you did it in all the purples and blues for a ocean scene. Wouldn't it be fabulous? For a sky, for a midnight sky, oh my, this would be great using the spritzer, you know, just putting some of the blending solution in a little bottle. And yeah, the sky's the limit when you're doing this. So I just had a whole lot of fun, just started creating. I think I created 3, see how I'm putting the die there? That's so that I can have a front and back, because both of the stems will be going in the right direction. You have to have one way and then an opposite one, right? And wait till you see what it looks like on Yupo paper to use the inks, the LDRS Creative inks in the red. Oh my, when you slide that over Yupo paper, It is great. I do believe because it's the hybrid ink that gives it that vivid look of an apple and the shine of an apple. You know how you have, especially on delicious apples for some reason, they have that waxy look to them. Maybe it is wax before you get them, I don't know. But I tell you what, this card was so exciting to create. And then when I'm cleaning off my Tim Holtz Vagabond there, just trying the magnetic platform. I have these little wipes that I get 150 or so of them from my dollar store when nothing's a dollar. I pick up a box of them, and it's perfect for cleaning up alcohol wipes, your fingers, the glass mat, you name it. These little wipes, the alcohol wipes, take care of that. And it's affordable, so that's awesome too, right? When I'm finished this and I swipe the direct to paper, like the Yupo paper with the hybrid red ink, oh my, it's called Kiss Me Red. And look at that, the front and the back, you're able to put them together and combine this beautiful apple when you're making a shaker, because obviously when you open it up, you have, it's clear, it's see-through for the shaker, you have the acetate, so you need a front and a back. But in my case, I'm going to show you what I did, so I didn't have to use a front and a back on a shaker. Yeah, really cool. So here we go, direct ink to paper with the LDRS Creative Hybrid Large ink pad, and wow, look at this, is stunning on Yupo paper. The hybrid ink. It's, yeah, I'm just taking a little white to clean the front up. And as you heat set it, if you do it just right and heat set it on the inside, I'm just spritzing it to get some little apple spots on here. But if you heat set it in the center and swipe it back and forth, you're going to raise it up because of the heat, right? Here I'm just taking an applicator to move it all over. Oh, I tell you what, I could have taken a bite out of it. It looked that real. And then I'll add some pinks and some burgundies. I want that little worm to come out of a, looks like a hole, so I wanted to make that right here. I was just playing around and having fun with the ink. And I had apples all over the place. Now, to get that waxy shine, I didn't do anything else other than to just put the ink on, and then before the ink dried, because it's a hybrid ink, you have some time, put some clear embossing powder on here. The LDRS embossing clear powder is fabulous. And you can see you get that waxy shine. The heat will raise it up, and I do a little bit of extra special effects here to get that raised three-dimensional apple look. So when you think of it, just get out one of your sponge mats, and I'm going to show you how I did it here. And now I'm going to add direct heat. Now this is the apple that had, this side's Yupo using, well, they're both Yupo, right? One side is the alcohol inks, the other side is direct ink to paper. You'll see the difference right away. I think more so you see it as far as the spreading, you know, of the ink opposed to the spreading of the alcohol ink, you know, hybrid to alcohol ink. Then I took a Copic and went around the edges, of course. You don't want to see any white. And I wanted to just see, one is lighter. I think the hybrid ink, the one that is Kiss Me Red, it is a lighter red, but you still get all those effects if you put the blender solution right to the ink. You know, you spread it just like you would if you're using the, spritzing it out of the alcohol actual inks. And it spreads on the hybrid ink. It's fabulous. Wait till you experiment with this. You get that shine, looks like an apple. I tell you, because you know how apples, they all have their own, you know, like snowflakes. They're all different and yummy. So here's my mat. And I took out my Wilton set because the end ball on this cake, you know, set is nice and large. So I took a paper towel. I put it on top because it's a little bit sticky after using the LDRS Creative embossing powder, and I heat set that. So I just did this to the edges, and I'm telling you, just pound it in there and then heat set the center, and you're going to have a three-dimensional apple, my friends. It is gorgeous. And you can see I am really taking it to task with pressure. And once you have that paper towel over top of it, it doesn't do any damage. And there you are. I get so many uses out of this Wilton cake set. I just keep it right next to me there. And look at the different colors and the shine on those apples. And yeah, I did a green apple so that I could get the stem as well. And then I wanted to have greens and yellows on the Yupo paper with the alcohol inks for my little worms. And took out my tiny little eyeballs. They come in handy, you know, the mini ones. And here I'm putting Scotch tape on the back so that when I turn it over, the glue is not going to go, it won't be applied to the apple, just onto the tape, the Scotch tape. So I cut it all around there to form the face of the little worm. Isn't this the cutest die ever? I could think of so many things. And when you see that gate with the other die set that I used from LDRS Creative, that country gate, I put the worms going through the gate. Oh, crazy cute, I'm telling you, just crazy cute. So here's the Nouveau. I just took it right out of the lid and put the top in green of my apple core, you know, the top of it. And you can see how it's raised up already using the mat. I have all the eyeballs set aside to put some of the glue on there. I used one of my darning pins, the large one. And I always stick it down into my baby powder. I think if you watch my videos, you see how I did that. And here I'm just taking a tool so that I can my pick-me-up stick there. And I'm applying all the mini tiny eyeballs to these worms, and they take on a character of their own, don't they? I'm going to zoom right up so you can see. I love it. I love this whole card. Fun, fun, fun. And the envelope was super fun, but I have to put that in another tutorial. Just would have been hours long. But I think you're going to love both of them. And I'll make sure I have to edit the envelope after this, but I will put it down so that you can go directly to it after this goes live. Look at apple, apple, and worms. Yowzer. Can't get any better. I love it. Sorry if I keep mentioning how cute this card was, but it really was cute to design. And if you take your foam mat, you actually make three-dimensional worms by turning it over and then putting your stylus, especially a metal stylus. I have one that's kind of medium tone, round, like a medium round, and it made the little worms look three-dimensional as well. So there's one of the apples, but look at the greens in these alcohol inks. And like I said, it will be on my blog, all the colors. And we're just dropping in the blending solution, dropping in the green colors, and knowing I'm going to use these for leaves and for my little worms. I'm going to add some yellow. I really did. I brought it right to the mat just to see what kind of images I would get when releasing it. And for leaves, you can't get any sweeter than this, can you? It's beautiful. Then I added some mustard color yellow, bright yellow, oranges to the bottom because I knew I had to make the worms. And then you can see the difference adding direct blender solution drops opposed to that spray bottle. Yeah, there you go with both of them. And I just think it is so sweet. And then we're going to move, and they dry nicely. Like it doesn't take a long time for alcohol ink to dry on that Yupo paper. I took a baby wipe to add a little bit of green to the bottom yellows, you know, the orange and yellow color, and I think this is great. So many, and that would, you know, jumping right in there, my friends. This would make a beautiful green apple too. You know, I could have just kept going with all different colored apples, but here you go. And in this, you know, this apple die that you have an opportunity to win, it has gorgeous leaves and flowers and these little mini like explosion centers for the flowers that are so cute as well. So now let's get on to making the card. Here's that build a card. This is another build a card set. I'll leave that info as well. I used the dragonflies in here and this adorable gate. It really is adorable. It took my 140-pound white cardstock, ran it through twice. I only needed, no, I think I ran it through 3 times. We'll see once we get going. I think I needed a front and a back and then just a front. So, you know, however you're designing your card, I mean, there's so many possibilities for the fall to do apples, you know, in a basket. Tons of ideas for this set. And look at that gate. Isn't that cute? Oh, yeah. Just totally country. I loved it. And then I'm going to, I think I run it through again. Not sure. But I'm starting out. And remember I bought all of these at Joann's, these cards that had the opening already on them. Those envelopes and the card are called Park Lane. They're 12 envelopes, 12 framed cards in A7 size. So I'm just getting out the little dragonflies. Both of them have their own little look to them, really cute. And there's the frame, and it's an instant shaker. And there's my apple, and we are going to start creating. This was my thought process right here, to have the gate to the side. Then you have the shaker. I'm going to use the gray, the black, and the red. And I'm using my micro beads again. My micro beads are the Martha Stewart beads you get at Michael's using your coupon. 32 to a box of the micro beads. And very affordable if you use your 40% and your 20 off your total order. Now here is my LDRS Creative Hybrid ink, and I ended up using the color of, oh, I'm getting out my dots. I found this little box with all these fantabulous dots that I had in different sizes and widths and, yeah, pop dots and square dots. Yeah, that was a good find. I like it when I clean certain areas of my craft room, I end up finding this. Oh yeah, I'm having a happy time. Oh yeah, smiling faces in this craft room, my friends. I appreciate you sharing some smiles with me in my craft room. You know I love all of my subscribers. And I always picture you here creating with me. And I took that one set that had the lips when I did my color swatches. And this was a book that I got at one of the bulk stores, 2x2 little squares. And I just did some brush lettering with all of the LDRS Creative ink colors on here. And I used the gray. It's called Alloy, I'm pretty sure. I'm trying to find it here for you. Right there, Alloy. And it is a really nice kind of silvery gray, pewter kind of look. I love it. And all I had to do on my 140-pound cardstock, or lighter, you don't need a heavy cardstock for the gate. I just did direct ink to paper and slid it down. One with the black little mini ink, and I have some fabulous news. LDRS Creative, they came out with the line of mini cubes, and I'm going to show you that in a future tutorial coming up pretty soon. As soon as I get my envelope up that, you know, hooks up with this card, they go together. So I'm going to, I thought I would need a front and a back for the shaker, but as turns out, I didn't. And I'll show you why. That way you get to use an extra apple on here. So I took my cutter, yeah, I'm looking at it there, set that one aside. The one that I used on the Adirondack A2 size card, it wasn't as bright shiny. Even though it was a gloss cardstock, it wasn't that shiny. It didn't outshine the Yupo paper, let me tell you that. I used that for the back of the card. That apple was on the back where I put my Created Especially for You by Carol Held stamp that I have. So here I'm cutting it off so I can start my shaker. I made my shaker separate. So when I cut it off, I added a little bit to the fold here, just because I didn't know exactly what style I was going to use. You know, whether it was going to flip up or whether it was going to flip book style. There's my acetate. I buy the, at my stationery store, my acetate are book covers. That way it's nice and thick. It's not flimsy acetate. It has a really nice thickness to it because it is a page protector, and you get them a box of 100. And I will try to find them from my stationery store to put on my blog for you. Sometimes I forget to do all this, but I really will try. So I cut, you're going to need 2 of the same size, right? Acetate, 1 for the front and 1 for underneath. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just cutting around it on the second. And you can see how the book covers have the rounded edge to 2 of the corners, opposed to acetate, which is perfectly straight. That's how I tell the difference between whether I'm using my thin acetate or my page protector, which is super thick. So here we go. Whew, that's a mouthful, isn't it? So I'm cutting it nice and straight so I get it just perfect on my Park Lane framed card. And I love this, like it's an instant shaker when you buy packages like this. And I'm pretty sure it was Joann's where I got those. So here we go. You're going to need double-sided tape to put your acetate directly to this. It's going to look like a framed picture, obviously, as you start going. And this is where my seed beads are going to rest on top of the acetate here. So once I have that done, I'm going to put on here the double-sided Scotch roll. So this is going on the back. And you know what? I think I had to here, I started over, as you can see, it's the card. I didn't cut it right here. I started another card and I put the acetate on the other card because I wasn't sure how much I needed to cut off. So I set that piece aside and I'm starting on this new A7 opening, like it's a window opening card. If you have any style of this type in your stash, it works out perfect. Or take a die to a folded piece of cardstock. Both will work excellent, you know. This is just quick. I didn't have to die cut anything because I already had the opening. So that was fantastic. And I'm pretty sure here I only did it 1 high because of the seed beads. You know, they're so thin. You know, you're not dealing with any kind of bulk, so I didn't have to raise it up too high. And yeah, I'm just going to go and cut this. And then I don't know if I showed it in here, but putting a little bit of baby powder with your blush brush around the edges so your seed beads don't stick to the Scotch tape is a really good idea. And then you can just wipe the front of your acetate or page protector with a baby wipe and paper towel, and it's as good as new. So here, oh, I was going through my little bee sets. I needed to have some alphabet letters, so that's what I was doing there. And there you have it, my dollar store case, my the box I bought for my seed beads. I put my seed beads upside down so I can see the colors. I did it in red, black, and gray, kind of like the alloy gray that you will see on the front of my gate. And this is great, like really. It was a fun card. But I decided to run the front of this. Now, you have to be a little creative when you do this because I'm using the LDRS Dragonfly embossing folder, but it is not A7. It is A2, you know. So you have to get your folder and kind of manipulate the dragonflies in a certain position so you can get all of them going around this A7 card. But it was easy peasy. It wasn't hard at all. Here's the deep, deep, deep red, almost to a burgundy, the black seed bead, and then, yeah, get nice and close there. And then my gray alloy color. I went in there. I must have been pausing to see. There it is. Isn't that beautiful? Really nice mix. It didn't take away from anything. And then I'll just, you know, kind of get those little extra seed beads away. I grabbed another piece of acetate, or in my case, the page protector, put it over top, and then I'll cut around it. And then you can see this is perfect because each envelope is the same size. You don't have to worry about anything. Easy peasy, one fits on top of the other. I'll cut this off so I can put it through my die cutting machine. Actually, I used it with my Dragonfly embossing folder, and I thought this would be cool because I'm going to use the Dragonfly dies, and look at, yoo-hoo, instant. And I love the circle dots. Like, everything about LDRS Creative is creative, you know. Angie Hunt goes the extra mile with her designers. They just put everything perfectly. And here's my double-sided tape going on top of the Scotch brand roll of tape, and it fit perfectly, and I was really happy with it. Then I took a green Copic marker to just give it a little bit of color to my dragonflies, and I used, I'm just trying to find it, the YG11, the yellow-green 11 Copic. So it was nice and light, but it offset the worm colors that I used and the green leaves. So everything came together. So much fun. Sorry I had the page down a little bit. I wasn't watching through my screen, but I wanted you to see that I always add liquid glue on top of my double-sided tape, whether it be the Scotch roll or a flat roll. This is just for security's sake when using the seed beads. I'm going to apply my Dragonfly embossing folder, and this is from LDRS Creative as well. And I have to just jump in here and ask you to check out the LDRS Creative site. Excuse me, the site, I get so excited I can't even think, for clearance. Like, you're not going to believe the prices on the clearance. I'm talking, if you can get something, let's say it's $29.99 for $1.85. I'm talking crazy pricing. After I throw that in, because there is nothing more exciting to a crafter than to be able to get a good buy on something, right? So that's just my throw it in as a reminder. And here we go on the gate, just tap tap with the alloy gray. I take the black little cube and run it here and there on the gate just to give it some of that old-fashioned, you know, used wooden, look at all that. Ah, beautiful, beautiful cardstock. And there you have it. I like the fact that I'm going to use black letters, so I wanted the black seed beads to be a little bit more prominent than the red, because as you know, I'm just using liquid glue on the bottom and the side of the gate there to put it down. Nothing is down. I don't put any glue on the acetate there. And you can see the beautiful curvature in this apple from using the foam with your, you know, with whatever stylus you have. It's beautiful. Or use that little idea of using the heat tool in the center, like turn it over, heat set it, and it'll push it out. It'll push the apple out, and you'll get that three-dimensional look. So here I have the flowers, I have the dragonfly, the leaves in the yellow and greens, and now I want to make two little cuts with my Fiskar cutter knife, my cutting knife, for my worm. Now, cut the worm off, you know, 2/3 of the way up. You don't need to slide it through. You only want it to look like you slid it through, right? So I have two little slits, and here we go. I'm just going to show you how I did this gate, you know, and yeah, I'm thinking to myself, if you find you put too much of the hybrid ink on here, take a baby wipe and kind of, you know, clean it up. Yeah, just tap it. Here I'm using the baby wipe with the LDRS Creative White ink. It's beauteous. So I'm just adding it with the baby wipe to make it look, I'm trying to get the name of that, white. It's so white I can't read it. Oh yeah, Snowy White. HYB 125. So now I cut off the little worm. I slid it through the two slits, one on each side. I'm adding Scotch tape to the back so it doesn't move, because you can see I only used a little bit going through that slit. And it looks like he's all the way through, which makes your worm look longer. Yes. So that's kind of cute. That's how I, see how I put him in another worm through the gate? You know, I interweaved it in the top of the gate, had him look like he's sitting on the flower, and this is where your design comes into play. And like I said, heat set the Yupo paper and you will get that pushed out three-dimensional look on your designs, whatever it is, the flowers, the apple, the worm, whatever. And look at that. Just cute. I just love the whole setting of this. And the seed beads are behind the gate, which is pretty awesome. You know, you get to see clear through it. You don't have all these seed beads staring at you all at once. But as I turn the page there, you can see the beads and how I take my Copic YG11 and go over all of the beautiful little dragonflies there. They're gorgeous. Everything just went together, and that little worm just takes on his own identity to me with those little mini eyeballs. Yeah, so I went around that, just adding some light color green, and everything was coming together. It was really cutesy wootsy. I really like when I'm looking at this as I'm doing the edit, how the worm looks like he's actually going through the apple. So cute. Now I'm going to speed the next part up, because it is actually the designing of the card. There's the seed beads. I ended up plugging in my hot glue to put my apple on, but then I'm going to use my shiny, yeah, I'm having a little bit of problems with this tube, with it coming out all the time, but anyway, I got it, and that is, of course, my glossy accents. That's the name of it. And here, the hot glue, right? You just need to add the corners, and you can kind of push up that apple to get it to be more dimensional with the hot glue underneath, you know, whatever you like. And then, as you can see, I did not have to really do a front and a back. I'm going to just see if I actually used that, because as I'm looking at it here, my thought process was I didn't want to cover the seed beads, you know, so that you didn't see any seed beads when you opened it up. And that was my dilemma. Don't you love those splashes, that die cut, the little like, yeah, it reminds me of just like a sudden splash when you put something down, like water, you splash it down on a glass mat and you get that look. So here, as I'm designing it, and another thing is, I was thinking I would have to do a backwards worm to cover up, you know, the other side, but I wanted the worms to be in different directions. So I remembered that when I was die cutting, I did some of the worms on one side and some of the worms on the other side of the Yupo paper so that they would be in different directions. And I didn't have to use it here because I covered it up with the dragonfly. So I didn't waste another worm, you know, facing either way. But I did need 2 different direction worms on the next page. You'll see that as I'm designing here. And I think it's so cute for a teacher to get a card like this, you know. What I'm making is in the jewelry, and I'll put it up by making a little book, metal bookmark, and it has some little scissors and a little apple I'm going to add to it as a little gift for inside this card for Hunter to give his teacher. So anyway, we'll get to that after. Right now, I just wanted to make sure that I put this card up using the Build a Card Apple a Day die. I mean, 14 pieces. It's great. It's just a great die. And, you know, to be able to have an opportunity to win that by just leaving me a comment is fabulous too. And I'll make sure to, you know, I always add a few little goodies in there when I send out something, a winning. So here I'm just getting the tick mark. I needed to have this right on the fold. So I add my gusset, which is one line over. I add the gusset to here, and this is how I'm doing it. The front page will fold on top of the second page, and you'll see that in a minute. So here you go. This is going to be the inside. I need to mark that where to cut it off. I'm looking for my pencil. Yeah, and then you'll just cut this off, and I end up putting 2 sheets of paper. You know I like my cards really thick. So I'll show you that later. And we end up using the Xyron machine, the 1-inch and the 5-inch. So yeah, you get to use some products on this card, which is great. So here you go. You can see I need to add my gusset because I have, you know, those little eyeballs, gives it a little bit of 3-dimension. And here I cut out another sheet for the inside of the flap. I wanted it thick. So I just measured it, and it's 5.5 by 7.5, I think. And yeah, I ran it through the 5-inch. No, it must have been 5 inches by 7.5 because it's my 5-inch Xyron. Yeah, and then I'm just cutting it out. And I'm going to set that on the fold, like on the flap. So when you open it up, it has heaviness on the right-hand side. That's my logic here. I'm sticking to it, and it's so nice. Thank you for your patience waiting for me to get a card tutorial up. I sure appreciate it. Hunter went and had his adenoids out and tubes in his ears. So, and he was a trooper. Honestly, you wouldn't even know he went in. It was great. Yes, he took it like a little trooper, like a little hunter. And here we go. I'm going to set that down on the inside. I actually used that other sheet that I cut. Remember that other sheet I didn't use? And I'll just cut that fold off on this side. You have to use all your sheets of paper. And now it's nice and thick because you had the thickness of the shaker to the left, and now I'll have a nice thick right-hand side, which is great. I'm loving it already. And then I ended up using my stickers, you know, my black, really thin line stickers. I used those for around the edges. This really was a fun card. If you're going to do a teacher card or a teacher appreciation card, this die set is the ultimate. It really is. And for, I mean, even a birthday card theme, it has endless possibilities with this Build an Apple a Day die. So there you have the front. And yeah, you just keep adding. That's what I did. I'll add a few things as I carry on. Hot glue is great, you know, puts it down instantly, and I'm not having to use double-sided tape. It's just quick and easy peasy. So now I'm going to just go back and see. I want to have on the front, well, actually on the inside here, we're going to put this down. So I'll grab my 5-inch Xyron to put that down. I'm going to design the left part of the opening with some leaves, and they all seem to fit. I wanted to kind of cover the line where I added the fold part of the right-hand side, as you can see. But this would look so cute with the LDRS Creative Monkey set there, with these beautiful leaves, you know, with the vines. So pretty. So many ideas, because with LDRS Creative, every set coordinates with each other, you know. And there's that little explosion, little die. I love that. So now we're going to run this through the Xyron, easy peasy. And this is I think this is the smaller of the apple that I put in here. Make sure you take your bone folder and go around and on top of the Xyron. This makes sure it just eliminates all of those sticky boogers you get on them when you flatten it out. And I used one of the leaves as the top portion of the apple, which was, yeah, I thought that was very creative. If I do say so myself. You know, it does come shaped like this, but, you know, you can do either or. And here, I don't know what I was doing there, just playing around. And here we go. And so I want to have the letters. So I have these 1-inch letters. I'm coloring in the dragonfly. Remember, it was really light. I went over it with the glossy accents, but I needed to darken it up. So I grabbed another one of the dragonflies, put it over top, and that way you get the wings set up 3-dimensionally. It's so cute. And put that down. So I wanted it to say for my teacher from Hunter. So here's where I started to, yeah, and I wanted to use up quite a few of the die cuts that I had with the Yupo paper. So it's just kind of designing here. And I knew that my cardstock is the 110-pound Michael's cardstock, that's super thick, and gold. I had to add a little bit of gold, so I cut, this is off the Butterfly LDRS Creative Die Set, so I cut the little butterfly out. It's 3-dimensional as well, the wings pop up, so I put it on top of this little flower, and that way I get my shiny gold put on this, and everything is like, look at the way the wings come up. Isn't that special? And now I'll worry about the back later. I need to put the inside, and I need to determine what letters I'm going to use to put down for my teacher, right? So I was going through my stash to see what letters I had, and the little B 1-inch letters were great. And I love the way that they have the magnetized magnet on the actual set. So I took out what letters I needed for my teacher and placed it out there, and you know what ones I had to cut 2 of them off, that I had to use multiple letters. I decided that as well. I love the great big font on this, and it fit, like I said, on this apple beautifully. Now, once I pick that out, I'm just going to put it in fast motion, and we're going to die cut each of the letters and put "for my" on the front apple of the card. Yeah, nice and fast here. And really, that's all there is to it. What I did was, on the inside where it says teacher, I put the glossy accents, and I'll show you how I did that so that it would look like I had a shadow on it, and using glossy accents. And the reason why I put the glossy accents on the letters is because it's on top of Yupo paper. I didn't want it to slide with having liquid glue. So I ran it through my 1-inch Xyron, and then using the glossy accents and letting the glossy accents just, you know, kind of, the word I have to use here is kind of ooze off of the right-hand side of each letter. It will secure those letters, that they will not come off because it's going to dry. But you only want it to ooze off the side a little bit, and it gives you that gray shadow, which is great. So once I get this done and we put that on there, and I just eyeballed it, I really did. Once I ran it through the Xyron machine, don't press it down until you can see that it, you know, I had to raise it up here. And it's so nice working on the Yupo paper. And don't you love the 3-dimensional look of the apple? I think it's really sweet. And there you have it, "for," I'll move it over. And if you're not pressing down on it, you're not going to have any worries. There's "for my." Love the little worm coming out there. I just think his teacher's going to be super surprised. This set for a card is nice. And then teacher, I just eyeballed it as well. You can see the little bit of glue on the A. Just take your pokey tool to get that out. And once I'm satisfied with that, there it goes. Now, I chose to go down the right-hand side and the bottom to come out a little bit with the glue. That way, when it dried, it honestly did look like gray shadow of the letters. It looked like shadowing, but yet that helped secure these letters onto my page, which when it dried overnight, I let it dry overnight, really did have a beautiful plastic look to the flowers, which I liked. You know, it was raised up because I did not raise this apple up. It is totally flat. So having the glossy accents on the letters just really added to the inside. And then I take out my stickers, the lined stickers that I have, and I put it around the edge of this card, super thin. And yeah, you can see it there. It's all done. I put the nice row of black on there and cut it off. And I also put my glossy accents around this too. I don't want anything to come off. So glossy accents to the rescue, right? So then we have the back side of the card. There was a few spots where I had gotten some of the red alcohol ink on it, but didn't matter because I just used these little, I call them little explosive die cuts, but I think they're like, you know, just a little flower, just a little explosive looking flower that's on in this die set. I love it. Probably to go over top of the flowers and just add, you know, some 3D look to it. And it also had that little die with the yellow on there, and there's the black. And I also want to put it, I put it down the side, just the one side there on the inside page. There they are, right here. You know, I think they're $2.50 a pack. I always use them. So I went back in and I did all of the edges, just cut it off here, and I don't know, with the black letters, I think it did add that little something something to it. And yeah, I didn't, you see I have that shiny mark. I think that my finger must have got into my glue. So I just added another little worm. Yeah, I went back and die cut some red because I had so much of that red Yupo paper. Putting the little eyeballs on there, it didn't matter because it was going straight down onto the card. And put the leaf on top of the E. I put the worm going through the leaf because there was a little opening there. And now I had this package I got at Michael's with the letters on here. I showed it in different videos before. And I put From Hunter. And I love the font on this. And if you don't set it down, you know, pressing on it, you can eyeball that. There it is right there. Boy, that was fast. But I'll leave that. I do the two end letters and the middle letter, and then I work my way around that. See how I'm moving them? And then I will really press it down. This is very sticky. These letters are very sticky, and it comes in that pack of like 1,250 different letters. And here's where designing comes through. I wanted that worm going the opposite way, so I turned the sheet of paper over, and you can see I have one worm going to the right, one worm going to the left, and it worked out perfect for my teacher. And then I put my stamp that says created especially for you by Carol Held on the back. I always put my clear embossing powder over top of the stamp. And I left it pretty simple on the back. There we go. And then when I heat set it, the apple kind of raised up, even though it had glue underneath. It was really cool. Well, we're coming down to the end. I'm just going to heat set that on the back of my card. And this will be my project for my LDRS creative design team. And this beautiful Build a Card Apple a Day die, you'll have an opportunity to win by just leaving me a comment. I have to explain something after. There's the front page. You can see the shaker. I'll just go on to explain it. And the teacher, I love the way the worms go in different directions. I left the back plain, and I really do. I love this. Yeah, let me just get that off. I love this creation. Now, I made an envelope, but I could not include it in this. It would have been far too long. Plus, I used different sets. So I wanted to keep my LDRS creative project separate, but I did include the envelope just to show you, kind of to entice you to look at the next tutorial, the actual envelope for this card. Now here I added that little brad screw to my scissors. I wanted to show how you can creatively make all of these projects look like they're three-dimensional and standing off the page by using different colored inks behind each project. You can see the tag. I made sure that the ribbon was real ribbon coming out of the tag at the top, and I matched it up with the leaf on the apple because the theme had to be with the apple, right? And then I did the dictionary saying for curiosity because Hunter's starting his first day, and you know, curiosity in children, I thought that was an awesome stamp to use. And yeah, a whole lot of little techniques in the envelope I wanted to show you. So I'm just giving you kind of a little peek at this. And there's the little worms. I put them on there so that the flap, and look at, I have my gold on the flap. It's going to, the lid flap is just going to fold right down into the worms and shut itself. So here you have my LDRS creative project, my design team project. I hope you like it, and I hope you'll check out LDRS creative products. I'll have all the links on my blog, and you'll be able to just leave me a comment when you do to have an opportunity to win the Petite Build-A-Card Apple a Day die. So there you have it, my friends. I hope you will enjoy the pictures and have yourself a blessed Labor Day weekend, and I will talk to you on the next tutorial. Thank you to all my viewers. I do appreciate you. Bye now.